Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to your Friday flow into the weekend. Thanks for joining me for today's mind body practice. Today's practice, we're going to get to warm up towards a nice moon salutation. We did half moon hands to feet pose. If you join me in our Tuesday express class, we're going to do a different salutation to the moon today. Last week we practiced some sun salutations. Sun salutations are great for warming up the body, creating some heat, whereas moon salutations are really great for calming and relaxation, for some cooling inside. So we're going to get started in 3 minutes. 3 minutes we'll start, you know what, let's start in child's pose today. That sounds delightful. Feel free to grab some water for yourself, set your space up, turn on some relaxing music if you would like to. Looking forward to daylight savings time. When does that hit? Because lighting is real awkward in here lately. All right, so I'm gonna synchronize my yoga watches. Bam! And if you're here early, thanks for coming. Feel free to get any sort of stretches and whatnot that feel good for you, for your body today. Grab a couple sips of water, maybe some coffee. And if you're here early, we got a minute or two before we're gonna come into that child's pose. So maybe just notice what feels good for your body today. Bring yourself a couple personal stretches, just getting away from your desk, just working to clear your mind's eye. I'll just walk. Oh, that feels good. Feels so good. Wow. Sometimes we don't even know the stretches our body needs until we start rolling around on the floor. So if at any point during class today you feel inspired to try something different, to break away from whatever we're doing as a class, especially because you're at home enjoying your own practice, go for it. You're being a nasty lady. Today. Hi. Why are you being a nasty girl? Fred, I don't want you to bite me before class because that would make it hard to use my hands on the floor. What if I sing you your favorite song? We have 1 minute. Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time. When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime. Do you feel better? Great. Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to class. It's me, Jessica, your Health Fitness Program Manager from McLean. Let's go ahead and get started with today's somewhat Friday flow, where we get to practice some moon salutations. We're going to start today at the back of the mat in child's pose. So feel free to open your knees as wide as you want to, or maybe you want a little more stimulation on your belly and you choose to keep those legs together. And start to walk your hands forward. Maybe your glutes slightly lift up off your heels. Maybe it feels good to be a little more in puppy pose. Really lifted and extended as opposed to reaching your hips back towards your heels for a more traditional child's pose. If this is too much on your shoulders to have your arms extended in front of you, feel free to take a generous bend of your elbows. Even the idea of reaching your hands back to your feet. I will encourage this full child's pose with your hands back towards your feet during our salutation later. So maybe just try it now and see how it feels. spend 1 more minute right here, just coming into our breath to start class, just relaxing our minds, our thoughts, anything else that you have to do today will hopefully get done. And if it doesn't, maybe that's okay too. Feel so proud of yourself for creating this time in your day for your physical and mental yoga practice. If you only have 5 minutes, enjoy them. And if you can stay with me for all 45, even better. On your next exhale, if you walked your hands all the way out, bring them back in, hands palms by your shoulders, press yourself up. Maybe bring your knees in a little bit closer, set yourself up in tabletop. Let's give ourselves a couple cat-cows here in tabletop. Really press through the palm of your hand into the floor so that your arm is straight. You're not jamming the elbows locked, but you're not taking a generous bend of your elbows either. So notice what's happening with your neck. I know sometimes if we're feeling really tense, it can be hard to find a deep tucking of your chin towards your chest or a big extension of chin away from your chest. So just move within whatever range of motion works for your body today. Think about giving yourself some shakes of your cat or even of your cow's tail. Maybe getting a little more into your shoulders. Maybe give yourself a couple circles with your hips. Take this opportunity to find what feels best for you today. Maybe you want to stick with just regular cat-cow. Maybe that feels best. Maybe you're open to some shimmy shakes. Make sure as much as you can that you do still keep a little engagement of your abdominal core, just so your back continues to feel good later. I'm going to gently walk myself up a little further on my mat. So make sure you just have some space that you can extend your feet behind you and go ahead, come back up to tabletop. Reach your right foot behind you, place the ball of the foot on the floor and press through the heel, a little squeeze of the glutes, still pushing down into your hands palms. However, if your wrists are really tired, maybe you want to come down onto your forearms to give those wrists a little bit of a break. You can even make some circles with your wrists as you stretch through your heel and just activate that calf. From here, we'll just gently rock forwards and backwards a couple times. Oh, feels so good. Just getting that stretch a little further up the leg. All right, fold your right leg in. Set it down on the floor, ground through that shin and extend your left leg out this time. Get the ball of the foot down and really press through the heel, pressing either your elbows into the floor, feeling that back activate, or your hands, palms in the floor. Take a couple moments, a couple breaths in your stillness, and then you can get that delightful rock back and forth. Sending that stretch a little further up the leg. Great. On your next inhale, go ahead, bring both knees back in together. Let's lift ourselves up if you've joined me on the floor to just protect our wrists. If your wrists are still hurting, you can consider driving your knuckles into the floor instead of having those hands, palms flat and putting that extra stress on the wrist itself. This can feel a little bit more supportive. All right, we're going to once again extend your right leg out. Take a deep inhale, lift that heel up to the sky, and exhale as you cross your right leg over your left. Your hips can gently shift to the right as you look over that left shoulder. Can you see that heel? Feel the big stretch through the right side of your body. Make sure you're not sinking into those shoulders, so actively either pressing into your hands, palms, or your knuckle. Draw that belly in again. Take one more deep inhale. And exhale. And on your next inhale, we're going to turn back towards the center, lift that leg up, and bring it back down into tabletop. Take a moment, sit yourself up, shake those wrists out. Get a little silly. All right, and then come on back into tabletop. Either knuckles or hands, palms on the floor. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Pull your belly in. Ground through your right leg. Extend your left leg back. Use your inhale to lift that heel up to the sky. And exhale as you cross the left leg over the right. Shift your hips gently to the left as you look over your right shoulder. Maybe you're just looking at that space. Maybe you can barely look back towards your heel, or maybe you can see your whole glute. Beautiful, isn't it? One more full cycle of breath here, nice and slow. On your next inhale, turn your head back forward, lift that foot up towards the sky, bring both knees back together, and let's lift ourselves up. Coming into a upright kneeling position, take your right foot and step it forward. Going to come into a nice hip opener. You can have your hands on your waist. Wiggle those toes forward enough so that as you shift the weight forward, your knee is not coming past your toes. Press that back knee into the floor to get a little bit more activation, and then you might even feel more of a stretch through the left quad instead of just focusing on the stretch that's happening in the right side of the body. If you're not feeling any stretch at all, you can always release yourself down to the floor. I like to release myself to the inside of the leg because there's just a little too much of my body happening for me to reach the floor equally on both sides. With it extended. All right, whether your hands are on the floor or on your hips, we're gently going to shift the weight back. So bring your glutes closer towards your back heel and start to extend your front leg. You can start with that toe down on the floor, and you can stay really lifted here, especially if you're feeling super tight. Stay nice and lifted. Find some engagement of your core and a slight hinge forward. As you slightly hinge forward, you're going to feel that more in the hamstring. If you want to feel it even more and start to get the calf engaged, flex those toes back towards your face. You can find a little stability with your hands on your thighs. Make sure you're not overly rounding the back unless you're rounding your way down with the support of your hands on the floor. Maybe you can even bring your nose to your knee. And then let's change. So bring that big toe back down to the floor. We'll shift the weight forward one more time. Plant your left hand on the floor and inhale that right arm up towards the ceiling. Work to stack one shoulder on top of the other and really relax your jaw. Maybe even you wiggle that jaw a little left and right to find a little more space in your shoulders, and see if you can turn in line, your chin up with your arms stretching up towards the ceiling. Take one more big inhale. On your exhale, rain those hands down towards the floor. Plant those hands down. Tuck your back toe under, lift that knee up off of the floor. We'll send our right leg back to meet with the left and come into down dog. So push into your hands, palms. Belly comes closer towards the thighs. Ears are by the biceps. Your heels don't have to be touching the floor. In fact, you might have a real generous bend of your knees to be smart for your body today. And then work to pedal through your heels. See how much you can lift those hips up towards the ceiling and drive your belly towards your thighs. Feel your glutes start to spread towards the back of the room. Maybe you even come up onto the balls of your feet and shift your hips one way and shift your hips the other way. Oh, starting to feel nice and warm right here. Great. Let's go ahead and come back down onto our knees just to be moving really mindfully and carefully today. Untuck those toes. We're going to lift ourselves up and come into our big hip opener and our hamstring stretch on the other side. So this time, left leg steps forward. Wiggle those toes forward as far as they need to be for you. And if you're feeling really tight, maybe you're still very 90-90, just hanging out right here. But if you can get a little bit more range of motion, go for that range of motion. Hands can be relaxed on your thighs. Hands can be at your hip, but keep those hips squared towards the top of the mat. Try not to turn out towards your open leg, and think again towards pressing your back knee down into the floor. Feel more of a stretch, engage on your quad. and slow down your breath. Enjoy one more big inhale. And then on our exhale, we're going to press ourselves back into that hamstring stretch. So remember, you can stay really nice and lifted right here. You can keep that toe down on the floor and still feel an amazing stretch. If you don't feel anything, just round or hinge forward. If you're rounding, bring your hands to the floor for a little bit of assistance. And if you're hinging, maybe hands are at the thighs or just relax on each thigh. Experiment with flexing your toes back towards your face. Find some relaxation in your shoulders. We'll take 2 more breaths right here. Great, then go ahead, plant that big toe back to the floor, shift the weight forward. Once more, let's bring our hands to the inside of our foot. Keep your right hand down on the floor and lift that left arm up towards the ceiling. Really try and touch it. Touch the ceiling, stack one shoulder on top of the other. All 5 of your beautiful fingers are touching each other side by side. Can you relax your jaw? Shake it out for a second. Try to line your chin up with your left shoulder. Take one more big inhale. On your exhale, rain those hands down towards the floor. Tuck your right toes under, lift them up, and send your left leg back. Let's once again come into down dog. Pedal through your heels, wiggle your hips left and right. We have some big reaches coming up with our legs, so just let's warm up those legs once more. We'll take a break on those hands palms for anyone who might have some wrist issues. So once again, bring your hands down to your knees. Let's send our hips back towards our heels. Take a couple more breaths in child's pose. From here in child's pose with your arms extended, I want you to practice bringing some weight into your hands and pulling your body through to come into Cobra. Let's once more shift the weight back, come into that child's pose. And then shift the weight forward, pulling ourselves through to bring the pubic mound back to the floor to come into Cobra. Great, from here, tuck those toes under, send your hips up towards the ceiling. You might need to shorten your step as we once again find ourselves in down dog. Walk your left foot in to the center of your mat and inhale your right leg up towards the ceiling. Try not to once again turn out towards the side, so your shoulders are still squared to the mat below you, your hips are still squared to the mat below you. Make some circles with your ankle in one direction, in the opposite direction. Go ahead and release that right foot back down to the floor. Replace your left and lift that left leg up towards the ceiling. Once again, resist the urge to rotate out to the left side. Leg nice and high, make some circles in one direction. Make some circles in the opposite direction. Release your left foot to the floor once more. Press back into your down dog. And then slowly walk your hands up to your feet or your feet up to your hands. Take a moment in this dangle. Bring a generous bend towards your knees. You might need to shift the weight towards your heels. So we're going to take a quick practice of a variation of Garland pose. So I want you to do your best to line your fingertips up with your toes. And I know that this is a really big reach. You might not be able to reach all the way down towards the floor, and you might not be able to line your fingers up with your toes, but it's just practice and you're doing the best that you can today. See if you can keep your heels on the floor as you take a generous bend of your knees. And maybe you're like me and you're feeling really tight today and it seems like we barely moved. It's okay if your heels gently lift up off of the floor for you to come into this deep stretch. In fact, other times that we can try this posture, I would even encourage you to put a towel under your heels just so that they're a little bit lifted so you can find that grounding with the floor. But for now, we're just practicing this Garland stretch, a little pressure in the toes. All right, let's inhale those hips back up towards the ceiling. Once more in forward fold. Inhale into a half lift. So ground your feet to the floor. Hands might come towards your shins as you pull your shoulders away from your ears. Find length through the spine. And then exhale back down to your forward fold once more. We'll inhale, slowly, gently rise all the way up. Bring those arms up overhead. And exhale, relax your arms down by your side. Come into some stillness right here for mountain pose. Bring your heel toes close towards each other, maybe even touching. Really ground your feet through the floor. A little squeeze of your glutes to push your hips forward. Opening of that chest, so just not collapsing in the chest here. Standing tall and proud. If you were a Care Bear, this is where you would give your Care Bear stare. What would your Care Bear emblem be? I think mine would definitely be some sort of like meditative slow breath. Like my Care Bear would send you the longest exhale. The longest exhale possible. All right. Feel free to shake it out for a sec. Shake out any spilkies, any feelings, any expectations. Maybe grab yourself a quick little sip of water. Just a little sip because we have some more forward folds coming up. We will go ahead and move into our moon salutation. So we're going to do one side and then the other, and we're going to try and get in 2 rounds of each. We'll move really slowly through the first time on each side and then work to move a little bit faster through the second round. If you're confused, it's okay. It happens sometimes. Sometimes me too. We're just going to do the best that we can with the bodies that we have today. All right, so starting off in mountain pose with your palms facing towards your thighs. Heels are close towards each other. Toes are close towards each other. Take a big exhale to relax your shoulders away from your ears. Find one spot to just focus your eyes in front of you, or maybe you need to watch me. But do your best to just find the motion through the words that I guide you through. All right, you can turn your hands, palms forward. As you inhale, your arms up overhead. Palms come together. Pull your belly in nice and tight and exhale. Forward fold down towards the floor. Line your fingers up with your toes, and on your inhale, bend your knees as much as you can. On our exhale, we're going to extend our right leg out, bring the knee down towards the floor to come into a lunge. Untuck that back toe. On our inhale, we're going to come up into Crescent Lunge. So bring those arms up overhead, maybe even enter into a slight little back bend as you push your hips forward. And then exhale. Wait, I lied. No. Yeah, exhale. Rain your fingers down towards the floor. Step your front leg back to meet with your back leg. So left leg comes back to meet with right as we inhale up into kneeling and come into another backward bend of sort. And we're going to exhale all the way down to come into child's pose. Option to have child's pose with your arms in front of you, which might make it a little bit easier to come into our next posture. Or think about exhaling yourself all the way down and bringing those hands behind you. We can take a couple of breaths here in this child's pose, just relaxing. If you brought your hands behind you, Rain them forward, and on your inhale, pull yourself forward, just like we practiced a couple moments before, inhaling into Cobra. We're going to exhale back into our child's pose, coming out the same way we went in. Inhale up into our kneeling backward bend. Bring your palms together for a little bit more grounding. Exhale as you step that right foot forward again. Inhale as you rain your fingers down to the floor. On your next inhale, we're going to step that left foot forward, bend your knees, come back into Garland. Exhale, send your hips up towards the ceiling, head comes down towards the floor. Inhale, roll all the way up, bring arms up overhead, palms come together. And exhale, hands, palms to your chest, finding ourselves back in mountain pose. Good job. Same thing from the other side. So inhale, arms come up overhead. Belly tight. Exhale, forward fold down to the floor. Fingers come in line with your toes. Inhale as you bend your knees to come into Garland. Exhale as you place your left leg behind you this time. Untuck your toes, knees come down towards the floor in our lunge. Inhale to lift yourself up into Crescent Lunge. Exhale, rain yourself back down into your lunge. We're gonna bring that right knee back in line with the left. So inhale as we come into kneeling or camel pose, hips come forward, find a nice little backward bend, and exhale, fingers can sweep all the way back down to your heels as we come into our first child's pose. Taking a couple extra breaths here in this first child's pose. Get ready to extend your arms forward and inhale our way into Cobra. Here we go. Pulling that belly forward, pubic mound comes down towards the floor. Press into your hands, palms, lift your chest, and exhale back into child's pose. Really stretch your glutes towards your hips, press your shins into the floor, pull your belly in as we inhale, lift ourselves up into our modified camel. Really lift that heart up towards the ceiling, push your hips forward, hips stay stacked on top of knees. Then we're going to send that right leg forward. So staying here in this camel. Inhale, left leg comes forward. Exhale, rain those fingers down towards the floor in your lunge. Get ready to step your back leg forward as we inhale, knees stay bent to Garland pose. Exhale, hips come up towards the ceiling, forward fold. Inhale, slowly, gently roll yourself all the way up. Bring those arms up overhead, palms come together. Exhale, hands down to heart center. Same thing, starting with that right leg again. Inhale, arms up overhead. Look up, follow your hands. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale. We'll just add an inhale into a half lift, why not? And exhale back down into that forward fold to make it a little bit easier. Fingers in line with your toes. Bend your knees into Garland. Exhale as you send your right leg back. Hands down on the floor, come into your lunge. Inhale up into our Crescent Lunge. And then exhale back down into your lunge once more. Get ready to inhale up, step your knees together into camel pose. Exhale, rain those fingers all the way back to the back of your mat, to your heels. Come into child's pose. Take 3 cycles of breath here. Get ready to move on the next inhale. Send your fingers forward. Pull yourself forward as we come into Cobra. Exhale, send your hips back towards your heels. Find yourself once again in child's pose. Inhale, lift yourself up. Push your hips forward. Lift your chest. Look back for your hands. And then We're going to step that right foot forward to come into our crescent lunge. Exhale back down into our lunge. See if you can get your hands on the outside of your feet. Inhale, step forward, bend your knees, come into Garland. Inhale into your half lift. Exhale, rain down into that forward fold. Slowly, gently rise up on your inhale. Bring those arms up overhead. Palms come together. And exhale, hands come down to heart center. Take a moment in your stillness. We'll start again for the left side. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Eyes follow hands. Belly tight, weighting your heels. Exhale, forward fold down to the floor. Let's find that half lift. Inhale into your half lift. Find length from your spine and exhale deeper into your forward fold. Line your fingers up with your toes. Keep your right foot planted. Send your left leg back. Plant those toes down to the floor. Oh, I forgot the garlands. It's okay. And let's inhale up into crescent lunge. Exhale down into your lunge. Step those knees together as you inhale into your Ustrasana camel. Push those hips forward. Look back. And then fingers rain down to the floor. Hips come towards, glutes come towards heels for child's pose. Inhale, send your hands forward, coming through to our Cobra. Exhale, glutes come back towards heels. Once again in child's pose. Inhale up to that Ustrasana. Get ready to send that right leg forward, crescent lunge. Take one more big inhale. Lift up, exhale, rain those fingers down to the floor into your lunge. Step your feet together, bend your knees, inhale into Garland. Exhale into that forward fold. Let's inhale into a half lift. Exhale down to forward fold once more. Slowly, gently rise up on your inhale, one vertebrae at a time. Use the full length of your breath. Palms come together and exhale. Hands come down to heart center. 2 breaths. Left side, inhale, arms up overhead. Pull your belly in nice and tight. Exhale, swan dive down to the floor. Inhale into a half lift, find that length. Exhale, forward fold, line your fingers up with your toes. Inhale, bend your knees, coming into Garland. Exhale, send your left leg back. Bring those hands down towards the floor, untuck your toes. Inhale into your crescent lunge. Hips are pressing forward. Find that little backward bend, and then exhale down into your lunge. Step your right knee back to meet with your left as you inhale into Ustrasana. Push your hips forward, and then exhale, send your hips back. Come into child's pose. Take 2 breaths. On your next inhale, extend those hands forward, pull yourself through. How low can you stay to the floor as you come into your Cobra? Exhale back into your child's pose. Put some pressure into your knees, pull your belly in. Inhale, lift up, press hips forward. Lift your chest, look back for camel. Step your left foot forward as we come into our crescent lunge. Rain those fingers down towards the floor. On your exhale, into your lunge. Step your right foot up to meet with your left. Keep those knees bent, Garland. Inhale up into your forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold once more. Slowly, gently rise up, 1 vertebrae at a time. Bring arms up overhead, palms together. Exhale, hands down at heart center. 1 more time each side. We are worth it. Find that stillness once more. What do you normally try to do when you come into this mountain pose? Do you start to adjust your costume or fix your hair? Think of this as a standing Savasana and just work towards Stillness right here. Notice your heartbeat. Where can you feel it? Hands, palms at your chest, feet ground, pull your belly in. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, belly tight, swan dive to the floor. Inhale into your half lift, flat back, shoulders pulled away from ears, and then exhale, forward fold, fingers line up with your toe. Bend your knees on your inhale for Garland. Exhale, step that right leg back, bring your knees down to the floor, untuck your toes for your lunge. Inhale into Crescent Lunge. Exhale, back down to your lunge. Step your left foot back to meet your right as you inhale into Camel. Exhale into Child's Pose. Take 2 full breaths right here. Nice deep inhale. Exhale. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale. Next up, we find some movement. Stretch your fingers forward. Inhale. Pull yourself forward. Stay low to your mat as we come through to Cobra. And exhale back into Child's Pose. Press into your knees. Inhale up into Camel. Exhale, step that right leg forward into your Crescent Lunge. Take 1 more big inhale in this lunge. Exhale, rain your fingers down towards the floor. Inhale as you step that back leg up, bend those knees to Garland. Exhale into your forward fold. Inhale into a half lift. Exhale, forward fold once more. Slowly, gently roll yourself up, 1 vertebrae at a time. Inhale, arms up overhead, palms come together. Exhale, hands down at heart center. Take 2 breaths. Last time through. Feet are ground, glutes are squeezed. Stomach sucked in. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, swan dive to the floor. Inhale up into a half lift. Find that length. Exhale, forward fold. Fingers in line with your toes. Bend your knees for Garland on your inhale. Exhale, step your right leg back. Untuck your toes. Plant your foot on the floor, lunge. Inhale up into your Crescent Lunge. Exhale, back down into your lunge. Get ready to step the right leg back. Inhale into Camel, Ustrasana. Exhale back into Child's Pose. 2 full cycles of breath back here. Get ready on this next inhale. Extend your fingers forward. Pull yourself forward. Stay close to the floor. Ooh, press yourself up into Cobra. Exhale yourself back into Child's Pose. Press those shins in your feet into the floor. Pull your belly in. Inhale, lift yourself up into Camel. Push hips forward. Lift your chest. Look back. And then exhale, step that left foot forward, coming into your Crescent Lunge. Take 1 more big inhale. Exhale, rain those fingers down towards the floor in your lunge. Inhale, step your feet together, bend your knees for Garland. Exhale, forward fold. 1 more inhale into a half lift. 1 more exhale deep into that forward fold. And then slowly roll up. Bring those arms up overhead. Exhale, relax your arms all the way down by your side. Let's take 5 breaths in stillness. Turn your hands, palms forward. Inhale, arms back up overhead. Pull your belly in tight. Exhale, swan dive down to the floor once more. Inhale, up into your half lift. Exhale, down into your forward fold. Place those hands on the floor once more. Step your legs back. Let's take a moment in plank for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great work. Bend those knees. Cross your ankles behind you. Walk your hands back. And come on to your glutes. Go ahead, send those legs forward in front of you. Let's go ahead, open those legs out nice and wide as feels comfortable for you today. Toes flexed up towards the ceiling. Find that little forward hinge of your hips. One last big stretch towards those inner thighs. Maybe still feeling it big time in your hamstrings. Reach your right hand fingers over towards your left leg. Inhale your right hand up and reach over to the left. So a nice little side body stretch. Inhale, lift yourself back up. Extend those arms out to the side and switch. Inhale back up to center. Exhale, right hand reaches to the left. Left hand reaches right. Inhale up through center. And opposite. So one more time, coming through on each side. Great. Inhale up to center. Bring those fingers to the floor. Walk yourself forward as much as feels good for you today. Come forward with a nice flat back. Inhale with that active lift, and you can stay right here if it feels good. Exhale. Fold forward down towards the floor for 3 breaths. Great. Gently lift yourself up. Bring those legs back together. And let's go ahead and lay down on our mats. So ground your feet firmly, and maybe you bring your hands behind your thighs to lower yourself 1 vertebrae at a time, or palms up towards the ceiling. Get a little engagement of your abdominal core as you slowly release yourself down towards the mat. Really think towards gluing that lower back, your tailbone with the mat, and then you can draw your knees up 1 at a time, nice and wide towards your chest. Take a couple breaths here. In knees to chest pulls, relax your shoulders to the floor as much as possible. Really check in with your neck. Are you stretching your chin up towards the ceiling, or can you gently tuck your chin towards your chest to relax a little bit more on the floor? All right, go ahead, bring your legs together so your knees are side by side, your feet are relaxed side by side as well. We're going to find a nice stretch for the quads because we didn't really address those very much today. Lots of stretches for the back of the legs. Go ahead, bring your right hand on top of your left shin and take your left hand underneath of that left leg to grab hold of your right foot. As you bring the sole of the right foot closer towards your left glute, work to release that right leg down towards the floor and stretch through it. Stretch through your knee towards the end of the room. It is okay if your glute is barely touching the floor, if your thigh is barely touching the floor. It's just going to depend on how flexible you're feeling today, but hopefully you are feeling a nice big stretch on this right leg that's down on the floor. Take 3 more breaths. And on your next exhale, let's change. So there are some of you who might have felt a lot of those quad stretches while we had our hip openers. This time our left hand comes on top of the right shin, and the right hand reaches under the left leg to grab hold of the left foot. As you bring the sole of the left foot towards your right glute, work to relax the outside of the foot to the floor to start to find some stretching through the knee. So just depending on how open your body is feeling today, how in touch you are with your musculature, perhaps you already felt some big stretches in your quads. I know it took me a long
time doing those hip openers to feel the stretch anywhere besides just the hips. So maybe you're lucky and you already feel it, or maybe you're like me and it just takes a little bit more time to be in touch with our musculature. Usually you either have a lot of strength and a little bit of flexibility, or a lot of flexibility and a little bit of strength. And it's just about a marriage of these two things, turning them into the best of friends so that we can use them equally together. All right, release that left leg. Once again, draw both knees in towards your chest, nice and wide. Send the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling. Take a moment here in happy baby. You don't have to reach all the way up towards your feet. You can always bring your hands behind your thighs. Make sure that that lower back is still seated with the mat. So that might mean that your feet can't be all the way up towards the ceiling, that might bring some rounding into that lower back, and that's okay. On your next exhale, go ahead, bring your heels and toes together for a little bit of support as you gently release them back towards the floor, taking a moment right here in bound angle. You might need to press into the outsides of your feet and lift your glutes up. One more big stretch for those hip flexors. And from here, we will go into final Savasana. You're welcome to stay here in reclined bound angle, or kick those legs out nice and wide. You can open your arms as wide as you want, open your legs as wide as you want. I like to keep everything still within the space of my mat so that it's easier for my body to circulate the blood, because it doesn't have to extend all the way out. I don't know, it sounds kind of silly now that I say it out loud, but maybe there's some truth to it. So melt into your mat as much as you possibly can. Take a little scan of your body from your head to your toe. If you're feeling any discomfort here in this final Savasana, if your back is feeling kind of tired or talking to you, think about taking a generous bend in your knees again, even tenting your knees in towards each other to just feel as supported in your upper body, back, neck, head, shoulders by your mat as much as possible. Back to your stillness. Take this time to honestly evaluate how your body is feeling now. Do you notice that it feels different than when class started almost 45 minutes ago? What feels more relaxed? Is it your body? Do you feel it in your mind? Do you feel it in your breath? Maybe you're enjoying all of those points of relaxation. And maybe today you're just feeling so many feelings that none of those quite came. And that's okay. Just showing up and doing your best is always enough. You're welcome to stay here in this final Savasana for as long as honors you. If you need to move on with the rest of the day and you'd like to close out practice together, take your time and make your way to a seated position. As you get there, bring your hands palms to the center of your chest with your thumbs touching on your sternum, and tuck your chin as you take a moment to bow to and honor yourself. You are amazing. Simply showing up is such a big thing. Showing up for yourself, for your breath, for your physical and your mental health. Whether you join me through every asana that we did today, or whether you sat and watched. You're making a difference. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that I said and we did, I hope you'll reach out. If you have any personal aches or pains that I can make a class in your honor, let me know. It can be our secret. Till you see me again, I hope that you will continue to think good thoughts, to eat good foods, to speak good words, to do good deeds, and all the things that nourish us from the inside out. Bring your thumb up to your third eye, your drishti. Ground your sit bones, pull your belly in, lift your beautiful face up to the sky. Lift your heart and know that the light within me honors and sees the light within you. And I'm so thankful for everyone who comes and joins me for practice. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day and a great weekend. Namaste.